All right, Gary, thank you very much. Israel's justice minister says the world needs more than rhetoric to resolve the Syrian conflict and compare the situation now to World War II. Israel borders Syria to the south and has already begun preparations for possible retaliation from Syria or its allies. Rabbi Steve Gutow is the president of the Jewish Council for Public Affairs and is with us today. Rabbi Gutow, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Debbie.
In some of my readings, you wrote that Congress should act quickly to authorize action against Syria. That was on September 4th. A lot has happened since then. Do you still feel that way in light of this latest possible diplomatic alternative?
No. I mean, I think we should pause and see if there's any. I'm not optimistic, but I don't think it would make any sense in a world based on our notions of moral rectitude to not pause and see whether this sort of combination of Russia and Syria can come up with something. I mean, the words are good, but the past history of these kinds of things, with whether it be Russia and Iran or Russia and others, it doesn't often work out. So I'm not hopeful, but I think we have to stop and do our best to be hopeful.
I think this is one of those cases where that saying, the devil's in the details, is very true. And there seems to be that there's going to be disagreement in the details, who's going to enforce it, who's going to verify it, who's going to oversee it, all those kinds of things. In your mind, is there any reason to, this might sound like the same question I just asked, but to trust the motives of Russia in brokering this kind of proposal?
There's no reason to trust the motives, because we don't have a history of being able to trust those motives yet. But there's every reason to trust the possibility, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're a nation that cares deeply about human life, and if this would work, if this would help obviate the possibility of nuclear weapons in Syria's or anybody's hands, let's go for it. Let's give it a go. That would be my
As we've
hope.
Been covering this crisis over the last several weeks and months, we've raised the question many a time, why don't we hear more from the elephant in the room, Israel? Israel does seem to be vulnerable if there would be a retaliation or an aggression. Should Israel be taking a lead here during this process?
I think probably not. I mean, I think for two reasons. One is I think Israel is quite tied in with the United States and our view of the world. But secondly, I think when Israel jumps in, it creates the possibility that people will see all kinds of ulterior motives. That it's based on Israel's concerns about Iran. It's based on Israel's, continued war, in a sense, with Syria. It's based on all kinds of things. But the truth is, I would hope that Israel, I don't know Israel as well as I know our own country, I would hope that it's based on the idea that in a moral world, and I would think that there's no room for this kind of weapon of mass destruction.
As this debate has gone on and particularly escalated in the last week or so, there have been a lot of parallels drawn to other big historic moments in history, including World War II. Do you think these are fair parallels to be drawn with this particular situation?
I don't think one can draw parallels between these mass atrocities in the world, but I do think one can say that when we do not respond to these, whether it be the Holocaust, whether it be the genocide in Rwanda, whether it be what happened in Darfur and Cambodia and Biafra, when we don't respond, we literally free up the aggressor to continue being aggressive. And I think we need to step up. And I have no problem. I don't think it's comparative to any of those particular genocides that I just mentioned, but I think it's the beginning of what could be. And when it's the beginning of what could be, I don't want us to not have taken a step that could have prevented the end of what could be. And the end of what could be horrific.
And I'm just wondering what your opinion is. How much time should Mr. Obama give this diplomatic alternative to come to fruition?
Well, my hope would be, Debbie, that what would happen is we would have a real ability to look at what's going on, to see whether or not some of the movements that we would expect, some of the abilities to be vigilant were actually happening. Mm-hmm. If not, I think that I have to trust the administration to make those decisions as to time, but I don't want it to be a delay that has to do with just allowing Assad to keep these weapons.
All right, we'll stop it right there. Rabbi Steve Gutow, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks
for having me. Take care.
And you're watching Arise America.